The concern about AI, I think, is overblown. What is not overblown, genetic editing, virus creation, nefarious actors just releasing a virus that is genetically engineered and created to do something very specific. That, I think, is a more imminent threat to the larger society than AI. What do you think?
Welcome to the Deep Chat.
Let's make a separation here. I don't want to explore the case where you're worried that an evil AI is going to use all of its power to make that virus to wipe us out. I think that's a little bit too Tom Clancy for me.
No, that's not what I'm... Yeah, I'm talking humans.
100 years ago, you couldn't engineer such a virus. Today, you can't. Perhaps 100 years from now, you'll be able to. And there are credible threats there. We'll develop defenses for them. I got to believe that immunology as a field is going to make some major advancements in the next coming decade, just given the world we're in currently. How could it not? So 10 years from now, our ability to fight, detect, and screen and eliminate viruses is going to be incredible compared to today. However, yes, there's always a novel threat, but nuclear bombs are a novel threat, and we only dropped a couple of them.
Yeah.
And we stopped.
Yeah, I think nuclear bombs take a much larger coordinated effort to launch one. But if you think about how much easier it's gotten, what is a CRISPR kit costs $2,000, right? Something to that effect. With about $2,000, you can start messing around with CRISPR, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, I mean, yeah, but there's a big difference there. Like, you can buy, that's like saying you could buy a chemistry set and you're on your way to making a bomb.
Yeah, I'm not saying, I hear you. Out of the two, I think that biological threats are much scarier than AI, is my point.
Oh, granted, for sure.
I would love to explore the current state of biological, gene editing and how it relates to virus creation, and whether or not there will be things like if you get a piece of the president's DNA and you design a virus that's specifically meant to kill him and only him. That's interesting to me. I'm
curious if that's possible.
I don't know, but I've listened and read about that being a possibility in the future. I think at this point it's speculation, but I'm wondering how speculative is that?
Yeah, I think if, like, let's say someone had, like, a propensity to already have some illness, that you could trigger that maybe. But the idea of, like, for just sort of a person who's not an outlier like that you could so narrowly target just them, that seems unlikely to me.
Well, unlikely now.
No, forever, because human beings we don't have that much variety. I mean, yeah, we're different by whatever percentage of our genes, but, like, I think for anything like that to work, it would have to be a more direct threat. Like, you have a peanut allergy and we have this peanut attack, which won't hurt most people.
The virus might not be designed for one person, but it could be potentially designed for a familial DNA, which might hit a lot of people. So, to your point, these are questions for someone who knows more than we do, but I also think it's just easier to look the other way when releasing a biological agent. You're like, well, it feels like a sneeze. Whereas hitting the nuclear bomb, I mean, it's obvious what happened. And people are going to know where it came from, who dropped it. Whereas with the biological agents, it's like, well, let's toss out this. Let's just take a little risk here. I think we'll be okay.
Maybe.
And they just wing it. And then it morphs into something else.
In terms of the ability to hide it or to have conspiracy, yes, absolutely. But the actual detonation moment, while less dramatic in the biological case, I don't think is any less thoughtful on the part of the villain, because it's not like they could just be like, let's make the virus this weekend and release it. If it's going to work, you have to study it. It has to be deadly, but not too deadly, have the right R naught, all that kind of stuff. You have to tremendously engineer that thing to work, so you know what button you're pushing when you finally do.
Right, and the resources are still heavy. I think the problem becomes when the resources are minimal. The equivalent of that right now, the worst you can do is build a pipe bomb or a bomb, Oklahoma City, etc.
I think that's just going to go on forever. It's too easy to do that, quite frankly. I mean, if for someone also who's not concerned about escaping it, to just hide it in a vehicle, drive that vehicle somewhere, I don't know that that's ever going to go away.
Well, my point is that if biological weaponry becomes easy, then you might see a frequency of it. But it's a question of whether or not it ever becomes easy.
Yeah.
Right.
Like if you got your hands on some virulent strain, like the anthrax attacks, right? If you somehow had access to anthrax, you could do a lot of damage. I don't know where you're getting it. In fact, I think some of the most deadly stuff like that is tagged and tracked and stuff so they could figure out what lab it came out of. I don't know the ins and outs of it, but deadly though it may be, it's a question of access to that kind of stuff.
I could swear there was someone that a while back, and I'll have to try to find it, looked up essentially the formula for anthrax and recreated it at his home. He ordered the genetic sequence.
Really?
I forgot how to describe it. And then built it at home. And I wish I had the podcast that was about this. It was years ago.
Interesting. I hope this
I'll
person
try to
didn't
find
get
it and send it to
arrested.
you. I don't know. I don't think they did. I think they were proving a point, and they raised the sort of security concerns.
Yes, that's just what it is. Obviously, you got to hand that off to the FBI or whoever, but it's a good demonstration. It's a hacker spirit.
Yeah, I'll try to find that, and then if I can, I'll link it in the show notes.